there, my name's Aura and welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to talk about all of the books I read in August. So let's get to it. The first book I read in August was called Emergent Properties by Aimee Ogden. Emergent Properties is about an AI named Scorn, who is an investigative journalist and the first AI ever created. During their investigation, they have to deal with meddling mothers and all kinds of other problems, including 10 days of missing memory. They're able to retrace their steps back to the moon, where they try to figure out what they were investigating without getting deactivated again. It's an excellent story. Scorn is a fun, plucky character that I really enjoyed, and I think fans of Murderbot would also enjoy Scorn. So, if you like that, give this a try, and you might like it. I, for one, am hoping for several more novellas featuring Scorn. Thanks to Tor Publishing for the e-arc of Emergent Properties. I enjoyed it thoroughly, 3.75 stars. The second book I read this month is called Wild Spaces by S.L. Coney. This is a Lovecraftian novella about a young boy, 11 years old, and his family living on the Georgia coast, and his estranged grandfather comes to visit. And things begin to happen. He begins to feel weird, and he finds changes in himself that make his mother scared and his grandfather pleased. For me, the ending didn't really live up to the promise of the book. It was Lovecraftian, but it was very surface Lovecraftian, and I don't know that it really delved into the horror of what was happening in the situation. It didn't pull me in the way I thought it was going to, and it didn't for me stick the landing. Overall, it is a good story with strong elements, and I would like to thank Tor and NetGalley for the e-arc. I give it 3.5 stars. The third book I read in August was A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. I read this as an ebook through my library, but I think I'd like to own a copy. This is my second T. Kingfisher novel, and they're really becoming favorites for me. There are certain tropes that she seems to pick up from book to book. Kooky neighbor, traumatic grandmother, that kind of thing. And it's a little bit of a formula, and I am absolutely here for it. It is almost a comfort read for me now, knowing what I'm getting into. Don't get me wrong, this book has some genuinely spine-tingling moments. This book is about a woman named Sam, whose job on an archaeological dig has been postponed. She's an entomologist, and yes, bugs feature heavily in this book, so consider yourself warned. Sam is going to stay with her mother during this little furlough, and it turns out all is not well in her mother's house, and Sam has to figure out what is wrong before things go very, very wrong. Did I mention bugs? I think it's obvious that I really enjoyed this book, and I also own Nettle and Bone as well as The Hollow Places by this author, and I am looking forward to reading those as well. A House with Good Bones gets 4.5 stars from me. The next book I read in August was The Circumference of the World by Lavie Tidhar, and I really enjoyed this book. It was weird, as Lavie Tidhar stuff tends to be, and it hit my little buttons of happy place. This book is hard to describe because it doesn't necessarily have a traditional plot, but I'll do my best. A mathematician, a crime boss, and a bookseller are all looking for this book that disappears after you read it, and also inspired an entire religion. There's also the possibility that everything happening in the book has already happened, and it's just memories being eaten by creatures on the edge of a black hole's event horizon. Yes, it's a weird book. Now, the way the moments and the characters in this book come together, as I said, isn't really a traditional plot. What it does is it creates these sort of vignettes that I think are very effective in creating an atmosphere and a mood. And fortunately, it worked for me. Altogether, this was a fun and interesting experimental story that I look forward to rereading because I'm definitely going to get myself a hard copy. In the meantime, thanks very much to Tachyon Publications and NetGalley for the e-arc, 3.75 stars. Next up, I read The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath by H.P. Lovecraft. Now, I have been, for the last year or so, slowly working my way through Lovecraft's entire oeuvre, which I don't necessarily recommend doing, but I read a lot of Lovecraftian work, and I like to go back and see the source material that inspired a lot of it. The Dream Quest of the Unknown Kadath is a slog. It's long, and I think Lovecraft himself didn't like it, didn't think it was a great book. It definitely reads a bit like a first draft. So in conclusion, I don't recommend it. don't bother. You don't have to, unless you want to read them all. Oh, it does get one extra star. I gave it 2 stars because it does have a cat army, and it's a cat army. They have little cat uniforms, I guess, and little cat titles, and there's little cat captains and little cat generals, and it's charming. I'm charmed. Don't read this book. My final book that I read in August was Bloodchild by Octavia E. Butler, and this is by far the best thing I've read in a while. Butler is phenomenal. I mean, I think her reputation precedes her. But I've always found her work a little bit intimidating. Like maybe it's going to go over my head because she is so lauded. And Bloodchild really helped me feel like, yes, this is something I can get my head around. I'm good. So I'm desperate to read more of her work. If I had to talk about a favorite story in this collection, it would definitely be Amnesty. I think that it did weird, strange, uncomfortable things. The aliens are very weird and alien, but at the same time, the character Noah, she is just this amazing character who's so strong in her beliefs of what is right and doing what needs to be done, even if it is personally uncomfortable for her. And I appreciate that. And I think it's a story that's going to stay with me for a while, I think. And there are a couple of stories like this. Speech Sounds, excellent. The titular Bloodchild, both that and Speech Sounds, I believe, won Hugos. And yeah, it's an excellent collection, and I highly recommend it. So that's everything I read in August. Thank you very much for watching my video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!